Welcome to EPG Pathshala. I am Dr. Neeru Tandon from Department of English, VSSG College, Kanpur. We are discussing paper on English language teaching. In it, we are discussing research methods, methodologies. In this particular module, we are discussing two types of researches, that is quantitative research and qualitative research. When we talk about the types of research, there are various types of researches in front of us by various names. Now the question comes, when we again classify them as quantitative and qualitative, then what are the parameters? How all those research types may be classified either in the quantitative or in the qualitative, or whether there is any third type, that we all will discuss in this particular module. Now, before going for the type of research, let us consider what are the qualities of a good researcher. If we list them, they are number of, but three essential qualities. Number one is patience. Number two is persistence. And number three is perspicacity. Now what happens when we say that patience? The researcher must have patience, because doing the research work, writing a thesis, is not a child's play, is not a job that can be finished within some months. It takes years and years to complete that thesis, to come to certain conclusion, to propound the research result. Now, having patience, avoiding negativity, avoiding boredom, avoiding the hurdles that come, like you are not getting material, you are not getting the required terminology that way, or your personal problems or environmental problems, just negating all those things. You need patience. Second is persistence. Persistence is also very, very important. You will have to keep on doing the thing that you are doing, keeping the research hypothesis in your mind continuously. You will be focused towards your end result, then only you will get success. Then another word, perspicacity. He or she must have the patience to plod again along through card catalogs, the persistence to continue searching despite discouraging and misleading information, and then there comes perspicacity in recognizing leads which may lead to the mother lode of information being sought. Now, what is this perspicacity? The quality of having a ready insight into things, keenness of mental perception and understanding. How it helps? Whenever a researcher is doing the research work, if his mental perception and understanding is keen, then only he can just differentiate between what is useful for his subject and what is not. Otherwise, there is plethora of reading material is available in text as well, in printed form as well as on internet. So how to choose that is a very, very important point, and their researcher needs the guidance from his or her supervisor. Now, we were talking about types of research. This module just talks about two types of researches, that is quantitative and qualitative. But you see, there are quantitative, basic research, applied research, longitudinal research, qualitative, descriptive, and classification also. Let us understand these terms as well, like basic versus applied research. What is basic research and what is applied research? So basic research is the fundamental or the pure research. That is the acquired knowledge for the sake of knowledge. I want to know certain things, okay, I will go through them. I will go into deep researches being done by people or already done in the field, and I'll study. I'll come across different subjects. So that is the basic research. Main motivation is to expand man's knowledge and not to create or invent something, not to add to the existing knowledge. So that is the basic research. But for academic purposes, we use applied research. Applied research deals with human and societal problems in the hopes of finding solutions to real world problems like cure illness or develop innovative technology. All the scientists who are constantly trying to just invent some medicine or some other things for the welfare of the human beings, that is known as applied research. This is not trying to postulate theory, but trying to find answers for a specific time, place, and context. Now there is descriptive research. Descriptive research refers to research that provides an accurate portrayal of characteristics of a particular individual, particular situation, or group. It is also known as statistical research. These studies are a means of discovering new meaning, describing what exists, determining the frequency with which something occurs, and categorizing information. Just for an example, if a scientist is trying to do research on earthquakes, so he will like to just go deep into the facts that why these earthquakes come again and again, what is the frequency, what are the problems. So when he goes into this why, where, what, so there is the descriptive research. Another term comes as ethnographic research, which refers to the investigation of a culture through an in-depth study of the members of that culture. So it is related with ethnography. It involves the systematic collection, description, analysis of data for development of theories of cultural behavior. So for this matter, the subject matter will be people, human beings, ethnic groups, and other ethnic formations, their genesis, composition, resettlement, social modes, and material and spiritual culture. In this particular kind of research, data collection is often done with observation, interviews, and questionnaires. Now, exploratory research. It is a type of research which is conducted for a problem that has not been clearly defined. To explain that, explore. It helps determine the best research design, data collection method, and selection of subjects. They are not usually useful for decision making, but they can provide significant insight into the given situation. Now, grounded theory research. It is designed to discover what problems exist in a given social environment and how the people involved they can tackle those problems. Formulation of testing is involved in it, and four things like 4 stages, codes, concept, categories, and theory making are part of it. Then there is historical research, which involves analysis of the events that occurred in the remote or the recent past. Historical research can show patterns that occurred in the past and over time, which can help us to see where we came from and what kind of solutions we have used in the past. So taking help from the past, we can just evaluate the present and make some formulas for the for future. Understanding this can add perspective on how we examine the current events. There are steps involved like identification of the research topic, then data collection, then evaluation of materials, and then data synthesis, and finally the report writing. There is phenomenal research, which is an inductive descriptive research approach developed from phenomenological philosophy. Its aim is to describe the experience as it is actually lived by the people. On a broader perspective, when we just see all these types of researches, they can be classified into two groups. Either they will come in the qualitative research or in the quantitative research. Now it's our job to understand what is qualitative and what is quantitative. Qualitative research is the research that deals with the phenomena that are difficult or impossible to quantify mathematically, such as beliefs, emotions, symbols, meanings, attributes, and the thought process. Qualitative researchers aim to gather an in-depth understanding of human behavior and the reasons that govern such behavior. The qualitative method investigates the why and how of decision making, not just what, where, when. Suppose a research is being conducted on increasing rate of divorce in Indian society. Then what will happen? The researcher will have to find out what is the percentage of divorce, and then he will just try to find out the reasons why why the increase in number, what parameters are being changed, where the changes are affecting whom. So all these things will come under this. Then we talk about qualitative research, which enables more complex aspects of person's experience to be studied. Fewer restrictions or assumptions are placed on the data to be collected. Not everything can be quantified or quantified easily. Individuals can be studied in more depth. So good for exploratory research and hypothesis generation. And the participants are able to provide data in their own words and in their own way. So these are the advantages, but there are certain disadvantages as well. It is more difficult to determine the validity and reliability of the linguistic data because the researcher has done and reached to that conclusion after a great research. Everybody who goes to verify cannot do that kind of research. There is more subjectivity involved in analyzing the data, and data overload, that is open-ended questions, can sometimes create lots of data which can take a long time to analyze, and it is pretty time consuming. Now let us talk about quantitative research. Quantitative research refers to the systematic empirical investigation of any phenomena via its statistical, mathematical, or computational techniques. The objective of quantitative research is to develop and employ mathematical models, theories, or hypotheses pertaining to phenomena. Quantitative research is generally made using scientific methods, which can include the generation of models, theories, and hypotheses, the development of instruments and methods for measurement, collection of empirical data, modeling and analysis of data, and finally the evaluation of results. There are certain advantages and disadvantages of this research as well. Quantitative research allows the researcher to measure and analyze data. The researcher is more objective about the findings of the research, and quantitative research can be used to test hypotheses in experiments because of its ability to measure data using statistics. These are the quantitative research advantage. Now when we come to the disadvantage, then we can just count the main disadvantage of quantitative research as the context of the study or experiment is ignored. Quantitative research does not study things in a natural setting or discuss the meaning things have for different people. A large sample of the population must be studied for more accurate result, which is not easily possible. Now if you compare the both, then you will find that in quantitative, explanation and prediction is there. In qualitative, explanation and description is there. Here we are using test theories, on the other hand we build theories. Known variables are there, unknown variables are there in qualitative. Then quantitative has large samples while qualitative has small samples. Quantitative uses standardized instruments while qualitative uses observations and interviews and questionnaires. So quantitative is deductive and qualitative is inductive. Quantitative data collection tools. They may be online web sources, face-to-face interviews, phone, telephonic calls, FedEx or mail, or central location intercept. By using any of these methods or all of these methods, data collection can be done. The term qualitative research, which is an imprecise term and which creates problems because qualitative refers to a type of data, not a type of research design. So that creates objections. This makes the idea of qualitative research illogical, even impossible, since it ignores the possibility of triangulation using multiple types of data, some of which might be qualitative and some of which might be quantitative. Now, when we define qualitative research, we find that it deals with numbers, whereas qualitative research deals with words. It is the simple definition of both qualitative and quantitative research. But the term qualitative is associated with a range of different other methods, like perspectives also, approaches also, as Mason pointed out. I quote, "Qualitative research, whatever it might be, certainly does not represent a unified set of techniques or philosophies, and indeed has grown out of a wide range of intellectual and disciplinary traditions." Unquote. Denson and Lincoln, they concluded that qualitative research is difficult to define clearly. It has no theory or paradigm that is distinctly shown, nor does qualitative research has a distinct set of methods or practices that are entirely its own. And later they added that qualitative research is many things to many people. It cannot be generalized. Let us have a brief historical overview. The first text that tried to define qualitative methodology is Glaser and Strauss's The Discovery of Grounded Theory, Strategies for Qualitative Research, which was published in 1967, but it did not appear earlier. In this highly influential book, the authors described the use of qualitative procedures by the Qual pointers as non-systematic and non-rigorous. After 1930s, and particularly after World War II, quantitative research methodology produced substantial advances, and qualitative research was relegated to preliminary and exploratory work. The middle of the 20th century was undoubtedly subjugated by quantitative research, and the invaluable merit of Glaser's and Strauss's book was to offer a worthwhile challenge to this domination. In applied linguistics, there has been an increasing visibility and acceptance of qualitative research since the mid-1990s. Almost every aspect of language acquisition and use is determined or significantly shaped by social, cultural, and situational factors, and qualitative research is ideal for providing insights into such contextual conditions and influences. The nature of qualitative data is also important for this particular category. Qualitative research works with a wide range of data, including recorded interviews, various types of text, for example, field notes, journals, diary entries, and documents, and images as well. During data processing, most data are transformed into a textual form. For example, interview recordings are transcribed because most qualitative data analysis is done with the help of the words. Because the common objective of all the different types of qualitative methods is to make sense of a set of meanings in the observed phenomena, it is indispensable that the data should capture rich and complex details. Therefore, in order to achieve such a thick description, almost any relevant information can be admitted as qual data. Qualitative research is fundamentally interpretive, which means that the research outcome is ultimately the product of the researcher's subjective interpretation of the data. Because qual studies utilize relatively limited harmonized equipment or diagnostic methods, finally the researcher will decide it. I quote the words of Miles and Huberman, who concluded that The researcher is essentially the main measurement device in the study. Accordingly, in qualitative research, the researcher's own values, personal history, and position on characteristics such as gender, culture, class, and age become integral part of the inquiry. The topics of greatest interest for qualitative researchers are human behaviors and socio-cultural patterns and norms which underlie the behaviors. Data are viewed in a holistic fashion without attempting to separate them into their components and preferably following the interpretations of the people who are the object of the research work. A wide variety of different techniques are used in the collection of qualitative data. Marcotte argues that the key questions for the qualitative methodology chapter are: how did you go about your research? What overall strategy did you adopt and why? What design and techniques did you use? Why those and not others? The most commonly used qualitative data collection methods include ethnographies, interviews, case studies, diaries, journals, and observational techniques. Once again, when we compare the quantitative and qualitative data, there are certain things to take care that quantitative research is structured, statistical analysis is done, objective conclusions are found, and surveys and experiments are part of it. While in qualitative we find unstructured data, summary is being used, subjective conclusions are there, interviews are there, focus groups, and basically based on observations. Now, on one hand we have quantitative, on other we have qualitative. The researcher may get really confused which one to use. Are we strictly supposed to use just one at a time, or we can have the mixed one? Of course. So mixed methodology is preferable. It can be used, but there are typical situations in which mixed methods is used. They can be used when we want to compare results from quantitative and qualitative research, or to use qualitative research to help explain quantitative findings, or to explore using qualitative research and then to generalize findings to a large population using quantitative research, to develop an instrument because none are available or useful, to augment an experiment with qualitative data. So this way, researcher will feel at ease whether he should use quantitative or qualitative, or he should take help from the mixed research process. Certain tips for the researchers. Researchers should be aware of their own assumptions on language learning and teaching. The exact aim should be research. Boundaries of research, or put differently, what you are not researching. Other than that, out of that, choosing appropriate methods for the research is compulsory, and the fact that research of language teaching and learning is about humans, protect them and let them benefit. To sum up, we can say that research is really important for the future of English language teaching. Still, after so much research, English language teaching is in the developing stage. We cannot say for sure that English language has taken a place which is reserved and which is secure, and there should not be any more changes. It is not only for India, but for other countries, other speaking countries as well, that researches are continually being done. Even vocabulary is a thing that keeps on changing. So in fact, the only thing that is permanent in this field is change. Everything is being changed, like method, like the way we are doing, and systems, use of material and aids, how we use it, who will be the subject matter, everything is changing. So when things are changing, researches must be done to ascertain whether these changes are welcome or not, whether these changes are influencing the society or not, and whether the learning of English language, so its future is just safe or not. I would like to mention one case, very pertinent example. All of you must have heard the name of Francis Bacon. He is known as the father of English essays. When for the very first time he started writing essays after the fashion of Montaigne, who started writing essays in general in French and another language. So Bacon thought that English has no future, and so he wrote his important essays in other languages and not in English. And the essays that he considered are not very well that he wrote in English, because for him English had no future and it will die so soon. But it never happened. English is developing, it is taking as a role of a link language, it is developing as a global language, and it is connecting more and more people. So the future of English should be saved with the correct form of research. Keep researching. Thank you for visiting EPG Pathshala.